and how they're built. After grading several of your papers this last week, I think it's important that we touch on this again. Some of you, I think, are getting some things mixed up. So today for this first, there's 3 pages to this worksheet. The very first page we are going to do completely together. And then you're going to do the second and third pages by yourself. Okay? So make sure you have the first page in front of you, and we are going to answer all of the questions on the first page, and we're going to talk through it. Okay, the very top of the page, it says, fill in the major scale whole step, half step pattern. Write W for whole step, H for half step. Okay, so then I have across there, I have 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, 6 space, 7. Oh no, I ran out of room. Okay, pretend they're all in a line, okay? Between the first note and the second note of the scale, whole step, okay? Remember our sentence, we worked hard when we worked hard. So between note 1 and 2 is a whole step. Between 2 and 3 is a whole step. We worked hard. Between 3 and 4, between notes 3 and 4 is a half step. Between 4 and 5 is a whole step. Between 5 and 6 is a whole step. Between 6 and 7 is a whole step. And between 7 and 8 is a half step. Okay? So, we worked hard when we worked hard. What is that telling us? That any scale we build, doesn't matter what note it starts on, it always follows this pattern. Between the first and second note is a whole step. Between the second and third note is a whole step. Between the third and fourth note is a half step. Between the fourth and fifth note is a whole step. Between the fifth and sixth note, whole step. Between the sixth and seventh note, whole step. Between the seventh and eighth note, half step. Okay, so now we're going to use that pattern that's at the top of your page to answer some questions. Look at the fingerboard that's off to the side. Okay, violas and cellos, pretend that these are your strings too. Okay, I know that your D and A string over here, but I'm just going to label D and A. Okay, so I wrote in for the D scale, we played D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. Okay, there is your D major pattern. Notice that the half steps on the top of your paper are between note 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Not your third and fourth finger, okay? No, the number, if we're counting the notes, it's between the third note and the fourth note. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the note name for the third note in the scale? What is that letter? When I say note name, I want to know its letter. The third note is F sharp. Write an F sharp in the blank for number 1. What is the note name for the fourth note in the scale? 1, 2, 3, 4. Write a G in blank number 2. Okay? Are these fingers a half step or a whole step apart? They're right next to each other. They're touching, right? So they are a half step. So circle yes. Are these fingers a half step apart? Because we know that notes 3 and 4 have to be a half step. So circle yes, because they are a half step. What is the note name for the 7th note in the scale? So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's C sharp, right? So in blank number 4, write C sharp. The letter C with a sharp sign. C sharp. Okay? Then the next question, question 5. What is the note name for the 8th note in the scale? C sharp, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's D. Write a D in question 5 blank. Now, the next one, question 6, says, are these fingers a half step apart? For C sharp and D, are they a half step? Yes, they are, because they have to be, right? In this scale. So circle, yes. Color in the circles that are a half step. So color 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. These fingers are close together, okay? Number 8, write the notes for the D scale on the staff. So, D, E, F sharp, G. You can copy them right from the fingerboard. A, B, C sharp, D. There's treble clef. Real quick. Okay, treble clef, you see yours? Draw them in. Alto clef. We have D, E, F sharp. Make sure your sharp goes on the left side of the note. G, A, B, C sharp, right? Sharp there. And D. Okay? Bass clef. Draw your notes in. D, E, F sharp, sharp on the left side of the note. G, A, B, C sharp, draw your sharp on the left side of the note. D. Okay. Question 9. I'm going to leave the bass clef up here. Draw a tent between the 3rd and 4th note on the staff. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to draw a tent. And then draw a tent between the 7th and 8th note on the staff. 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Can't count. So, number 9 is done. So make sure you have a tent between the 3rd note and 4th note and 7th and 8th note. Draw the key signature for D major. F sharp and C sharp. Now, they have to be in sharp order. Are F sharp and C sharp the order we say the sharps? Well, real quick, how do we say the sharps? That's the sentence. Fat cats go down alleys eating burritos, right? Okay, so F, C. In this key, they happen to be in the order of the sharps, which is kind of cool. So on that little mini staff, violins, F sharp, top line, then C sharp. And remember, you're not going to draw it down here, even though we drew the note down here, okay? F sharp for key signature always starts up here. C sharp goes down. Violas, your key signature. F sharp, top space, okay? Even if we didn't use that F sharp, we happen to. But now we have C sharp. Your C sharp was way up here. You still, for your key signature, draw this C sharp. Because this basically says that you have to have a sharp for all C's, okay? Bass clef, F sharp, that is the one we used. And then we're not going to draw our C sharp up here. We draw it down here, C sharp, okay? We just did the very first page. You are going to do the same thing on the 2nd and 3rd pages. It's exactly the same, except for one thing. On the fingerboard, I do not give you, I don't write the letters in for you. You have to write in the letters for the scales, okay? So that's the only thing that you have to do on the second and third pages that you didn't do on this page, okay? And that's at the very top. Write the letter names in the fingerboard circles for G major. I drew the circles, so those are correct. You just have to tell me what the letters are, okay? Be sure that your scale letters always go to the next letter. We cannot have a scale. Let's say we're having D major. We can't have this. D, E, G flat, G, A, B, D flat, D. Okay? This has to be F. It has to be F something. Okay? It would be F sharp. But you can't, it always has to keep going. D, E, F sharp, G. We can't have in a scale 2 G's. Okay? In your music you can, but not in a scale. In your music, you could have a G flat in one measure and a G flat in another measure, okay? But you can't have, but you have to have in a scale, it has to go D, E, F, G, A, B, C something. It's not going to be regular C, it's going to be C sharp, but it has to be that letter. You can't have D flat and then D. We can't have two letters the same, okay? It has to be 7 different letters and then the first letter and the last letter are the same. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys just even understand your scales better. Remember that the half steps are between note 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, so color those in. Not your third and fourth fingers, but the third note in the scale and the fourth note in the scale. Okay, have a great week. I hope this makes it super easy. Tackle page 2 and 3, and I'll see you guys next week.